Wonderful. All right.
Okay. All right, so the objectives of today are to define gamification and game-based learning, to identify Generation Z characteristics, and to synthesize evidence-based resources to support gamification. So some terms I'd like to review. Game-based learning happens when the game itself is teaching the student. So imagine a story of a game or its characters are teaching you or the student concepts. And examples include simulation, role play, and group dynamics. On the other hand, gamification itself uses game mechanics to engage students in training efforts. Some gamification techniques used include competition, stories, achievement, levels, and rewards. Generation Z nursing students, they are born between 1995 and 2012. Traditional teaching strategies such as reading assignments, classroom lectures, and clinical experiences seem to fall short for this generation. These students crave excitement in sensorineural stimulation, and therefore technology, audiovisual strategies, and games seem to be optimal. Gamification incorporates components of a game to facilitate student engagement, and ultimately it offers a more immersive teaching learning experience. Escape rooms, for example, are a type of gamification, and they are extremely popular with this generation. Overall, let's looking at the type of students that we have in this generation. They demand a fast response. They email you, they expect to get a response, immediately. They never put down their gadgets. They're used to social media. They're always connected. Again, never put down their gadgets. They're tech savvy in more ways than one. They prefer visual forms of learning. They do seem to have a lower attention span, so they can only concentrate on bits and pieces of information at a time. They want to be entertained all the time. They want more excitement. They like having fast acquisition of knowledge. They want everything immediate. It's an immediate type of response. In general, these students were born into, in their defense, they were born into a world with smartphones, tablets, and computers. They are social entrepreneurs, and they like learning to have some kind of meaning and purpose, okay? They're born in an information revolution, okay? Whether it was artificial intelligence to self-driving cars, drones to virtual assistants, that's what they were born into. They like to make and create things. They like information in bite-sized chunks, and they prefer hands-on learning, so they like to do it themselves and put the pieces together. They talk in images and emojis. They even email me in images and emojis. And they prefer YouTube to TV. Their social circle is no longer classroom, it's global, okay? It's community and beyond. And they want to connect with people, collaborate, and share their ideas. Which brings us to social cognitive theory, is what we chose when we started doing this project. The social cognitive theory emphasizes three elements: cognition, environment, and behavior, which coalesce and impact human behavior. Gamification allows for that interactivity, and it affords students the flexibility to apply that knowledge gathered from self, others, and the environment. And furthermore, it allows educators to simultaneously encourage self-efficacy. So the social cognitive theory really works well with this group. Key points of Bandura's social cognitive theory: really, again, cognitive factors, knowledge, expectations, and attitudes. Then you have your environmental factors, the social norms, access in the community, influencing others and the environment. And then behavioral factors. Hopefully all that together will influence skills, practice, and self-efficacy. Meaningful interaction. So gamification promotes a meaningful interaction. And so because of that, it reinforces positive behavior. It promotes critical thinking. It does enhance self-efficacy, and it facilitates learning. Goals of gamification: we want to encourage active participation through providing students challenges. It engages students in their learning, establishes a more playful, competitive learning environment. It also facilitates communication and collaboration, which obviously this group needs because they communicate with emojis, and symbols constantly. So this does enhance that. And it fosters critical thinking. Benefits, it's exciting. It's immersive. They love that. They like excitement. Provides immediate feedback, which this group, again, likes immediate feedback. They want a quick response. And it easily lends itself to technology. We can easily use technology and feed it through there, and that's something they're comfortable with. It, they're able to incorporate multiple learning styles using this. And it has shown that it's associated with student improvement. It motivates them, improves their attitude, their social skills have improved, and ultimately it helps faculty achieve didactic learning outcomes or objectives.
Okay. So my name's Megan Wayne. I'm another instructor here at Francis Marion. I've been working with Dr. Russell on some projects that we've been doing this semester, exploring the use of gamification in this population of students. Specifically, we've been looking at the use of educational escape rooms. Now, I don't know how many of you guys are familiar with escape rooms, but it is exactly what it sounds like. These are popular attractions that are available in various communities where you can go and pay money to be locked in a totally immersive environment where you have to solve a series of puzzles, follow clues, put things together, and work as a team to find the key and get out of the room. That's the whole goal. A lot of times with these escape rooms, there's a time limit associated with that to add some additional pressure to it. And what we did is we did some research and found that educational escape rooms have been used in other healthcare educational programs to some success, especially among this population, because you get immediate feedback with this. They solve the puzzle, they get the next clue. It really encourages communication because you cannot get through these things without talking and learning to communicate to one another and to respond to appropriate cues from each other. So we've actually started working on a study this semester that we're kind of in the middle of right now, where we're taking senior nursing students right before they graduate. These are our December graduates, and we are putting them through a series of escape rooms. Now, what we did is we took it and put it and switched it to a nursing-based escape room. So instead of being locked in a haunted house, our first escape room, they were locked in the medication administration room and had to solve different clues related to the patient's condition at the time, the medications that were available. They had to use ciphers. They had to look at different flyers and things. And it was based on fluid and electrolytes. So we incorporated IV fluids and all kinds of stuff in there to try and engage this population and get them to work together in a way that not only they would enjoy, but that would help to achieve those learning outcomes. So we looked through the literature, and like I said, escape rooms have been used to some success in various healthcare fields. We saw where it was used among pharmacy students. We've seen several interdisciplinary approaches where they've combined pharmacy students and nurse practitioners and use them to work together to solve educational-based escape rooms. And across the board, they found that it helps to improve communication, collaboration skills. It helps improve knowledge retention because they are moving that knowledge from the recall stage to the actual application of that knowledge in these different scenarios. It also is shown to improve morale and awareness of their own responsibilities within these different scenarios because they are required to participate. If you don't have participation from everybody in your group, you're not going to be able to escape the scenario. So it helps to encourage that assumption of responsibility in their group's success. It also enforced the importance of delegation and leadership, helps to create a high stake environment because of the timed aspect that we have with these escape rooms. So for our purposes, we made relatively shorter escape rooms because we have so many students, we had to rotate through them. Ours were limited to about 25 minutes. And they had about 7 or 8 puzzles that they had to solve in order to get out in that 25 minutes. And that was quite a struggle for some of our groups. We had, what was it? We had 3 of our 5 groups managed to escape in that time limit, but you could definitely see the added stress that the time limit added to them. Just like you will have those same time constraints in various patient scenarios whenever they're out practicing as nurses or in clinical. Um, let's see. It also encouraged high student engagement and commitment to learning, because we have a particularly competitive group of students. And I can say I haven't actually looked this up about in the literature, but speaking for personal experience, this generation seems to be getting more and more competitive. So we're kind of using that to our advantage to get them to actively engage and try when it comes to learning these concepts. And what I think is really, really important at this type of learning activity is it teaches participants how to give and receive correction in a stressful environment, which, as we know, as healthcare providers, that is something that is a hard lesson to learn when you're out in practice. However, by putting them in this simulated escape room environment, they're getting that immediate feedback from each other. And since the time limit is such, they have to accept it and roll on with it. So it's teaching them both to give that type of feedback and to accept and use that type of feedback. So now I'm going to go through a little bit of the details of the study that we're working. This is a internally funded study that we have gotten a real grant from our university to allow us to actually build these escape rooms and put our students through them. So we're only 2 escape rooms down. So we're about halfway right now. So we don't have the final data yet, but we have some that we'd like to share with you to kind of give you an idea of where this seems to be going, because I think it's just really, really interesting. Prior to the escape room, we got all the students together. We went through the whole informed consent process. We decided to make everything completely anonymous, because our goal was not so much to track individual student progress between the escape rooms, but more to track and see how overall teamwork and the overall perception of learning was achieved through the use of these activities. So all of our scores and everything is completely anonymous, and they have given us written consent to participate. And as you do with any study, you always have to start with grabbing some demographic data, which I have presented here in this table. So we have, this senior class is a relatively small class, with how many students? 33 students we have in that class right now. But as you can see by this demographic table, by the vast majority, they are female full-time students who are working on their first degree, and most of them are currently employed in a healthcare role somewhere. Most of those roles include like being CNAs or nurse externs or things. So we wanted to look at that to see if that had any type of effect on their ability to work as a team. And hopefully once we get all of our data, we can kind of track and see if that's going to track out for us. And then we also wanted to see if they had any experience with escape rooms, because obviously the more you do a particular type of activity, the better you will be able to perform in that type of activity, regardless of the content that's involved. And we were very happy to see that 78.8% of our study group had no participation in any previous escape room. So for the most part, we were getting these students totally blind. They'd heard of escape rooms, but they'd never participated in any of them. So it's working to help try and start from scratch with this group. So as we went with our on with our study, we decided the best way to go would be to first introduce them to a professionally run escape room so that they could get the feel for what an escape room is. Because it's one thing to drop a student into a room full of lock boxes and puzzles if they've never actually been through a professionally put on guided escape room. So the first escape room we did took place at locked-in escape rooms here in Florence, which is about 15 minutes from our campus. They were not medically oriented at all. They were like, one was a haunted hotel, another one was an insane asylum. It was really more just to give them the idea of what type of communication they were going to have to be doing and the general gist of how to go through an escape room. So we put them through this initial escape room, and then we had them complete a teamwork self-assessment scale, which is a Likert scale that Dr. Russell and I created for this study to see what they felt about the teamwork involved in doing this type of activity. As you can see, the majority is very, very positive. We had very, very high scores across the board for enjoyed working as a team to solve puzzles. Teammates responded quickly. This here was a reverse style question. So even though it says never, that's actually a good thing, because the item for that is my team ignored input of some members. And so we're happy to say more than half of them, they said that never happened. And that's very important whenever you're working in a teamwork type of situation. So As you can see, we have overwhelmingly positive responses when it comes to the teamwork self-assessment scale from the initial escape room. Now, that was the only follow-up survey that we did for the initial escape room. Whenever, after this, it was about 2 weeks after, we brought them in to do our um, fluid and electrolyte escape room, which proved to change things just a little bit, which I thought was very interesting. We're still predominantly positive, but there are some definite decreases in the amount of positive responses that we're getting among this group. So we're very interested to see as we continue with this escape room if that numbers or if those numbers are going to start to grow to reflect what it was for the initial professional escape room that was done, or if they're going to stay about the same. We're currently thinking that the reason that they're decreasing is because they have the added stress of having nursing content thrown in there. So even though we've told them this is not for a grade, but they know that their teachers are on the other side of the two-way mirror watching them through this. So I'm wondering if maybe that added level of stress is contributing to the changes that we're seeing in this teamwork self-assessment scale. And then what we did also was we added a escape room perception scale, which is a tool that has been used previously in the literature. We actually got permission from the original authors of this that use this tool to use it. And it has a couple questions you're able to tweak specific to the information that you're covering in that escape room. So as you can see, since our escape room was based on fluid and electrolytes, it was an effective way to assist my learning of this material. It was a good way to review the topic of this material. And it's very, this is shifting our focus from looking at the teamwork side of things to looking at how they felt about the escape room as a learning activity, both in the helping them to recall and apply the information that we've already gone through the content, and in helping them to learn additional pieces of it from their peers. Now, we have a little bit of a wider distribution here. However, majority is highly positive. Very few disagrees. I think the only one we had some disagrees was they like this better than a didactic lecture, which is not that much of a surprise because as the literature suggests that Generation Z students particularly prefer gamification type styles of learning activities, but our entire class was not solely Generation Z students. So that's not really an unexpected finding that we have right there, but we're interested to see how that keeps going. And then this was also some alternately scored items related to the different pieces involved in the escape room, because in escape rooms you have to have some non-educational portions, like there was a couple ciphers that we had to use to help them get the codes that open the different locks. And it was pretty split as to whether or not people found them detrimental to the overall escape room activity. But for the most part, they disagreed that it was a distraction from learning about fluid and electrolytes. And then we also have some differences here. About 22% said that the stress kept them from being able to focus. And once again, we're thinking that ties back to the time limit and to the fact that this is the first time they've done this particular type of escape room, because as much as we would have liked to create that fully immersive environment, but that would have required tearing down some walls in the nursing building, and no one was willing to let us do that. So that's kind of where we are. We've got 3 more educational escape rooms to complete with this group. And then we're going to do our full data analysis in December and hopefully have something to present next spring sometime. But right, we just wanted to introduce you guys to the ideas that we're doing. And it's been both from the survey results and just just in conversation from the students. It's been a very, very positive experience for everyone involved. And they've really enjoyed the fact that they're able to get away from the classroom a little bit.
And let me say, both cohorts that we had for for both, but particularly focused on the classroom escapes, they were randomly selected. And what we're seeing is the stronger students, are doing better as far as escaping time. But it did help us pinpoint some areas, content area wise, that people would that when they're having to communicate and thinking out loud, we're watching this unfold. So we're identifying and it's correlating with the students that didn't quite achieve what they should have benchmark wise on exams. So it is core. This is going to be very interesting at the end when we do our full data analysis. So we're excited about that.
Yep. So anyways, we just wanted to present that, give you guys an idea of what we have going on. And to let you know that gamification seems to be working for our group so far. Like I said, we haven't done our formal data analysis yet, but we're getting overwhelmingly positive responses from it. So I would encourage any of you guys in education to take a look at this as a possible avenue for learning activities in the future. And here we have our references if anyone would like to follow that up. And otherwise, that's all we've got. So do we have any questions?